All right, guys, in this video, we're talking once again about the performance differences between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And we're not going to be talking about a direct comparison that's coming from Digital Foundry or somewhere else. Instead, what we're going to be focusing on is Microsoft's response to everything that has been coming out. For those who maybe aren't caught up, the gist of it is Microsoft advertised their next-gen Xbox console, that being the Xbox Series X, as the most powerful console with the most amount of teraflops, that being 12 teraflops. And one of the promises that they have made and that a lot of Xbox fans were excited for is that multi-platform games, third-party titles, would run best and look best on the Xbox Series X. And so this was kind of something that people really ran with in the lead up to the next gen consoles. And I'm sure many of you are well aware of that. And we are now a few weeks removed from both of these consoles finally launching, and multiple game comparisons have been done between both of these consoles, multi-platform titles, AAA titles. And more often than not, they seem to favor the PlayStation 5. The PS5 ends up being the better performing console. So now that you're all caught up, this is why we are going over apparently Microsoft's response, which, look, I'm going to let you know my opinion on it, but let me just read it over here. This comes via The Verge. It's a very long article, and it seems to me like this article is basically an attempt to explain why this is, why the PS5 is outperforming the Xbox Series X. And it just comes off really strange to me because it's like, I get it. Like, it's worth explaining. I do believe that. This is something that I think people want to know. And I don't blame them, because if I was somebody who bought an Xbox Series X with the promise that multi-platform games, at the very least, like if you can expect anything, it's that multi-platform games will probably look slightly better or run slightly better. And you don't get that. Instead, it's the opposite. I would want to know. So I would recommend kind of reading through this whole thing, but I don't want to read the entirety of it. It's very lengthy. I want to focus on this part here where it kind of talks about Microsoft's response. It says, expect to see a lot of game patches either way. Codemasters is fixing up Dirt 5. And I understand Ubisoft is working on an Assassin's Creed Valhalla patch for the Xbox Series X to improve gameplay. Microsoft is also working with developers to resolve issues and has acknowledged the comparison videos in a statement to The Verge. We are aware of performance issues in a handful of optimized titles on the Xbox Series X and S, and are actively working with our partners to identify and resolve the issues to ensure an optimal experience, says a Microsoft spokesperson in a statement to The Verge. As we begin a new console generation, our partners are just now scratching the surface of what next-gen consoles can do, and minor bug fixes are expected as they learn how to take full advantage of our new platform. We are eager to continue working with developers to further explore the capability of the Xbox Series X and S in the future. Microsoft also hasn't explained why it waited for full RDNA 2 support from AMD for the Xbox Series X. Xbox chief Phil Spencer revealed to The Verge recently that Microsoft started manufacturing consoles in late summer. We were a little bit later than the competition because we were waiting for some specific AMD technology in our chip, says Spencer. So, it says here, and I'll just read this last paragraph. Maybe I'll read a couple more because actually it's pretty good. Things are clearly coming in hot on the Xbox Series X side, but the PS5 has also launched without variable refresh rate support to help smooth out any frame rate issues. Not sure why that's even being brought up, because there's really not a whole lot of frame rate issues with the PS5. In fact, it seems that the Series X is the console that really needs to have the, variable refresh rate, but it is what it is. Those features and overall performance do matter greatly on these consoles, as it affects how we all experience playing the games that developers create. The Xbox One consistently struggled to hit 1080p early compared to the PS4, and while the differences aren't that big yet this time around, it will clearly take months or even years to determine how this next generation of consoles will change the way games are played. Microsoft may have been beating its chest about 12 teraflops and the world's most powerful console, but that hasn't materialized yet. Despite this, I understand, and this is the important part, I understand Microsoft is still quietly confident that bigger and more obvious performance gains will appear on Xbox over time, thanks to full RDNA2 support and its maturing developer tools. So, I know that was a lot of reading, but I thought that this was an important write-up to go over because, look, there's really one main point I want to get at here. And it's not that this information is completely useless, because it's not. Again, like, people want to know, but how does this read to you guys? Because to me, it sounds like a bunch of excuses, regardless of whether or not it's true. Okay? You don't really need an explanation to this degree. We all know that consoles take time to really tap into. Anytime there's a new console generation, it's going to take literally years before you see the biggest gains from those consoles, to see the most, extracted from those consoles. This is nothing new. This is the way it's always worked. And that goes for all consoles. It's not like it's just exclusive to the Xbox Series X. And that's something that has really annoyed me. I've been seeing it a lot, and I kind of have to reiterate it here. I did say this previously, but I have to say it again. Whatever improvements that we see coming from the Xbox side of things over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, or beyond, you're going to see the same thing happen with the PS5. Now, is there a chance that because Microsoft waited, as they said here, for full RDNA2 features and specific features, does this mean that over time we're going to see the Xbox Series X kind of start to outpace the PS5? It's possible. It's certainly possible, but it's not really looking good right now. And this is the big thing, right? This is the big thing, is everybody who's defending Microsoft right now, who's defending Xbox, they're basically saying you just have to wait because you're going to see it. You're going to see it, and it's going to be massive. And that just kind of makes me laugh, to be completely honest. Not because I'm a PlayStation fan and I want to rub it in Xbox fans' faces. No, it's nothing like that. It makes me laugh because it's like, is this really what we're going into the next generation talking about? We're still playing the waiting game when it comes to Xbox? To me, that is literally laughable, and it's actually kind of sad as well. That's not the game we should be playing on the next-gen Xbox console, which is you wait. You wait, because we've been waiting long enough, and I think we should be done waiting. I think that we should have more games than we're seeing right now on the Xbox side of things. We don't. That doesn't mean I'm going to assume that all of the games we eventually get on the Xbox side of things are going to be bad. That's not what I'm saying, but come on. We're at the launch of a new console. There's basically nothing there. And I think that that's just kind of sad. Even throughout the course of 2021, as far as I can see, there's really not a whole lot going on unless Microsoft is going to be announcing some stuff sometime soon. So from the game side of things, you've been waiting and you're still waiting. And it's exciting that Microsoft has more studios than ever before, and they have the most potential they've ever had. There's no doubt about that. The potential is there, but you still have to wait. Meanwhile, Sony has a strong launch lineup, and I know I'm beating the same drum here, but, why is it that this is coming out? Like, oh, internally, Microsoft is, quietly confident. Well, good. If they're quietly confident, why are you talking about it? Let them be quietly confident, because all this is doing is continuing to fuel the true narrative that has surrounded Xbox for years now. And that narrative is not power. It's not games. It's not single player, high quality AAA experiences. It's the wait. You need to wait. Wait till we buy more studios, and then wait until those studios eventually make games. And if the games don't turn out to be good enough, we'll just wait until those games are eventually good enough. Wait for the power now too, because we're going to sell you on power, but now you're going to have to wait even longer. You're going to have to wait until developers really tap into it. It's excuses. It's excuses that, frankly, no one should have to hear right now. Because I will tell you, just like I said in my last video, if I was an Xbox fan and I bought the Series X, at the very least, okay, there's no launch exclusive lineup, whatever, it is what it is. Things are coming in a little bit hot. At the very least, I expect these multi-platform titles, especially the AAA ones, to look and perform slightly better. Now, they say there are patches coming, but I don't want to hear, like, again, it's just excuses. So it will be interesting to see if when we see a patch for Dirt 5 and Assassin's Creed, if suddenly the Series X version is outperforming the PS5 by even, let's just say, a significant margin. If that does happen, well then congratulations, Microsoft. You're delivering on the exact thing you said you would deliver on. I'm not going to give you a cookie for that, right? That's what you were selling people on. That's why a lot of people bought your console. So, okay, maybe it won't be so bad if that's the case. But I guess I'm just trying to say here, guys, like, this is what we're going to continue to see. And I don't really care too much. People are like, oh, you're getting way ahead of yourself, MBG. You're waving the victory flag. It's not a victory flag, okay? There is no victory flag. There is no, waving the white flag. There's none of that going on here. What happened is a lead up to this console launch. Many people were telling us and telling others that you better prepare yourself because the Series X, sure, it may have a weak or basically non-existent launch lineup and, it doesn't have the DualSense controller and all that stuff, but you wait because we're going to have the best multiplats. Games are going to look and run best on X. We've heard it time and time again, and the fact of the matter is that's not what we're seeing here. So whether that comes in a patch that we get later on, whether that comes a few months from now, or whether that comes a couple of years from now, it's irrelevant. And I will continue to reiterate this and continue to say it because I was not expecting to come across an article like this. I'm glad it's not Microsoft themselves coming out here saying this. There's a reason why they are quietly confident and not announcing it because they know how foolish that would be. So this write-up, I don't know. It's a little bit strange to me. It's not too bad. Like it is interesting. I would recommend reading it, but ultimately, it just reads to me as a bunch of excuses, right? Like, I don't care if the console's coming in hot. We already had a developer confirm that the tool set is there and it's matured. It's not a matter of it lacking tools. And you could argue, well, maybe they just don't have enough experience with these tools. Again, why should I care about that when the PlayStation 5 is proving that that's not an issue on their side? That's not an issue for Sony and developers making games on Sony's console. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, I'm going to end it here because I'm just going to continue to ramble on. I just wanted to read this to you. This is Microsoft's apparent response to the situation, and I'm glad they said something. The spokesperson that they had come out, he's just basically saying what he needs to say, which is, oh, it's just going to take time for developers and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get it. But apparently, this article had to add that internally, Microsoft is still quietly confident. It's like, here's what I want to end the video with, because I know I keep going on here. You already know what's going to happen, guys, and it's going to be ridiculous when it does happen. Mark my words. If the day does come, which it might, I think it might, we're going to have to wait to see, but if the day does come where the Series X does end up outperforming the PS5 for certain games, maybe even by a significant margin. Again, this is just me giving it the benefit of the doubt. You already know all these dudes are going to be like, we told you, you were dead wrong. Series X going to give it to you, world's most powerful. And they're going to seem so ridiculous. They're going to literally seem like clowns because it's like, you guys are celebrating this how many months after the fact? How many potentially years after the fact? And maybe it'll come sooner than that. Okay, but still, like, just accept that this is not the way it was supposed to go down. Anyway, leave me your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.